I did not. You got a sword for winning.
Yeah, I got a sword, and it's really cool. It's got snakes on it. Yeah, it's really rad.
Yeah.
It's like whenever we have like male friends come over, they always like pick the sword up and they're like, "Can I play with it?"
Yeah. It's like you think about winning and you get a trophy, right? But it's like not over here.
No.
A sword and a sword only.
Good as Gold's the official Gold's Gym Australia podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Good as Gold podcast. We are your hosts, Em and Cal, and boy, do we have a special guest for you today.
We do. We are talking to Mariah Jean from Mariah Jean Fit. She is an online coach. She is a double NBA figure pro, two-time champion. Mm-hmm. She's also a nutritionist as well. We're going to be talking through a variety of things. Firstly, though, like a gnarly story, like background from enduring a whole lot of things through her childhood, getting on stage and how that fully transitioned.
Yeah. And also talking about how to get into the gym when you are anxious and when you're feeling signs of anxiety going into the gym. And it's just going to be such an insightful episode.
Cracker. Let's get into it.
Yay.
Proudly supported by Raw Energy, cafe partner for Gold's Gym Australia.
Welcome, Mariah. How are you?
I'm well. I'm happy. I've just come back from a little holiday. I'm
Love
busy, but yeah.
What a little treat. Where did you go?
I went to Byron. I know, the stereotypical white girl holiday. I went to Byron with my partner, and we actually went out to a glamping style hut out in the middle of nowhere.
So nice. It's like Byron, although Byron like gets this rap of, you know, it just being like you said,
classic.
You know, just literally like so influencery or like.
But it's got the goods around it. It's
I know,
the surrounds.
there's so many cool things.
Did you came back? You're feeling relaxed though. You're feeling good.
Yeah, well, I popped the cherry. I'd never been there before, so I think it was really. I know. I'm like everyone's like, you haven't been to Byron. I really enjoyed it. We kind of backed onto this cattle farm, which was interesting. Reminded me of my childhood. So yeah, it was good. It was really relaxing, and I preempted the idea that there would be no technology available for my clients and myself.
Yes.
Oh, and it was like going back in time. It was, the era of not being connected at the hip to your phone. So, yeah.
It definitely doesn't happen enough, does it? Like, we just don't get off our phone. I've actually lately have been putting like a timer on my like Instagram and Facebook and like all my socials. I'm like, do you know what? You get a limit, Emily, every single day, and that's it.
Switch off.
It feels so good.
Okay, so you've just gotten back from a nice little relaxation. Tell the people who you are, what you do. We'd love to deep dive into it.
Well, I'm Coach Mariah or Mariah Jean. My company is called Mariah Jean Fit. I'm an online coach. I'm fully online, so I don't do any PT sessions. I couldn't think of anything worse. I don't want to go back into the PT world. I love you guys. I love gyms. It's just, I think being interwoven and enmeshed with my business at the gym and also online is just too much.
Yep.
So yes, fully online, fully booked. I'm an NBA figure pro athlete, double pro. So I went pro late last year. I prepped myself into my shows.
Wow.
Because I'm batshit crazy. And I'm a competition prep coach myself. I coach everyday athletes, sports nutritionist, qualified, certified, insured, and currently studying my diploma of performance sports nutrition with IPN, so an English like UK provider.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's some heavy stuff, but I'm like a science geek, an absolute addict when it comes to this type of thing. So yeah, and obviously qualified in Cert 3 and 4, but yeah, that's kind of something I got as the formalities, I suppose, for training on. Yeah.
Wow. Well, there's quite a list there, isn't there?
That is the
Imagine putting that in your bio. Like,
how do you? You don't. You cannot.
You should just say like, trust me.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
Just take my word, all right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, run me through kind of like you are an NBA, a double pro bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
What does that even look like?
Yeah.
Well, it's a natural bodybuilding title, and it's a national title. And well, there's two of them. So it's Figure International and Figure. And people get confused when I say Figure International because they think it's an international championship like title.
Yeah.
But it's just a terminology for kind of the equivalent to Olympia figure.
Yeah.
In that I just do the symmetry rounds, and it's the most coveted, I think, female bodybuilding category in Olympia.
Yep.
So obviously I'm a natty, so I don't use any substances. Oh my God, I'm as clean as it gets. I don't smoke, I don't drink.
Yeah.
I would kind of liken it to, like being an Olympian in a sense that I don't like to, interrupt my training or anything with any sort of, exterior influence. I'm very stubborn. So, so being natural, you get tested, obviously. There's a lot in the industry to say for testing criteria across a lot of different federations, whether or not they do actually test their athletes. And the one thing I love about NBA is that they do. They actually, the first thing you do when you come off stage after that win, you don't get to take photos and do all the fun stuff with family. You have to go and pee in a cup. Yeah. So I have a video of it, of me, not the actual thing, but like the pee cup.
The process. And that's what keeps that like sport.
I think it would be really gross if I actually filmed myself peeing in a cup and then put that on the internet.
Oh, I mean, it's real. It's raw.
Someone would do it, honestly.
Yeah. And that's what keeps that integrity in the sport, right? Is that the fact that you are 100%, like you've put in the hard work and there's nothing that has aided you extra. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's even some pre-workouts that we're not allowed to take like leading into the shows as well, because that can flag as like, almost like the same substances found in cocaine and the like. So, and look, honestly, some of those pre-workouts do feel like you're taking cocaine.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then they randomly test you throughout the year. So I've kind of like, once you get your pro status to be able to hold that, so you'll get it ripped off you basically if you do test positive for any of the illicit substances.
Yep.
So they're really strict on it. I've kind of challenged the president. We're quite close to just test me whenever he wants to.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for it, and yeah, that's pretty much what it entails. So it's not a super glamorous lifestyle or anything like that. Like I don't get paid. I think when I go and eventually want to do pro shows overseas, that's where you'll see a lot of prize money and that kind of thing. But through the COVID era, that was where I was actually training, and even like my prep, there was multiple lockdowns.
Yep.
So if there was any time to test my resilience as a natural athlete, it was then. Yeah.
I've got a bit of a pretty much. Sorry, I've just got a bit of a two-part question. So about you having like double pro, and especially going over COVID and everything, you becoming a bodybuilder. Did you get in it to, like, I don't want to say win it, but did you get into the competition to get your pro status, or were you just purely in it for the sport? Like you loved the physique style of things?
Combination of both, because obviously I'd competed before. In 2019, I actually started competing for the first time after 7 years of training. So I'm a bit backwards. I guess I just didn't want to, when I was younger, like 20, 21, 22, I was bodybuilding, obviously 10 years ago, and it wasn't popular. Like I was in a small country town, and it was just like, people thought I was the weirdest person for bodybuilding as a female, let alone at all. In that town, it was kind of more normalized to be like obese and to just, eat trash and like watch the footy. So I kind of, I suppose back then when I was around like 23, 24, a lot of people were seeing what I was doing with myself. And I had a lot of external influence and push to compete, and I still didn't. I chose not to. I think back then I probably wasn't mentally stable enough to make those choices and to go into that area. And I avoided it for years. I didn't want to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I think there was this divide in my mind where I was like, no, I'm intelligent and I'm educated, and there's like no way that I will be doing bodybuilding shows. Like, ugh.
It's like there's a stigma behind like being a bodybuilder and like exactly what you just said. You were like, I'm not going to be that. Like, I'm not that.
I didn't want to be lumped in with the meatheads, I think, and or the the cardio bunnies. It was for me. I had a very strict upbringing. I came from a really humble background. We were broke growing up. But I really worked my ass off in my academia to try and prove myself, I guess, to my family and myself that I was worthy. And I think getting to my early 20s, I wanted to be something that was far above and beyond a physique. And I avoided it for so long. I avoided my passion for so long because I was worried about the way that people would perceive me as a woman and as, you know, my level of intelligence and everything like that. I was like, no, I've got more on the inside.
Yeah.
And I guess that's part of why I actually ended up getting into coaching. But yeah, I started in 2019, my first show after 7 years, bit of a tangent there. And I actually went in, interestingly enough, like most people will compete these days and they'll be following their fellow competitors, and they'll be like, you know, racking their brain about who they're going to be up against and everything like that. Yep. And I was so oblivious. You know, I'm that girl who's in a race and I don't even look behind me or beside me. Yeah. I don't, it's not that I'm overconfident. I just don't care. I don't care who's in the race. Yeah. Yeah. I've always been super determined and I work autonomously all the time since I was a kid. Like I've studied alone. I've done everything alone, but not lonely. Yeah. And it was a really enjoyable experience to prep after I had been deterred from competing from like a previous ex-partner who had competed himself. Yeah. So he was very much like, oh, I can, but you're not allowed to, which was kind of toxic. And I guess it was like he said to me, like it was a very attention-seeking sport and the like, and it didn't really add up to me that, you know, he was allowed to take his shirt off in public, but, you know, why wasn't I? Like, where are these double standards coming from? So I think after that all blew up really badly, there was a lot of pretty tumultuous stuff that happened over the 7 years of the relationship. I just went, fuck it. You know, it's my turn. I get to choose what I want to do with my life. You're no longer dictating to me what I do, and you cannot control me anymore. Yeah. And so my revenge wasn't, you know, going on a rampage and or anything like that. It was just competing. So I competed and I won. I won the classic figure state title. That's my sword here, my beautiful useless sword.
I see that, yeah.
It looks pretty.
Get it out, Zena. Yeah. That's beauty.
So,
dude,
that is so good.
It's like
I did not know you got a sword for winning.
Yeah, I got a sword, and it's really cool. It's got snakes on it. Yeah, it's really rad. It's funny. Whenever we have like male friends come over, they always like pick the sword up and they're like, "Can I play with it?"
Yeah. It's like you know, you think about winning and you get a trophy, right? But it's like, not over here. No. It's a sword and a sword only.
There's a funny story actually with the trophy is that oh, hello.
We've got a little cat. We've got a little cat in the screen. This is so good.
Hold on, she just wants to sit here. So the sword was interesting, like because obviously prepping for me, you know, I wasn't looking at my competitors. I was just doing my thing. I was so happy to just compete. Yeah. And on the day when I got handed and Siri wants to talk to me. This is a great podcast.
All the guests.
Yeah, we're getting all of the live action. On the day when they announced my name, even for the novice win, because I won my novice division first, obviously. Mm-hmm. It was just that moment, like, I honestly, genuinely was like, what? Me? What? And I just cried. Yeah. I'm not a crier. I'm not an emotional person. I'm really tough and really resilient, and I just lost my shit. So that was fun. And then I think after that was that was the moment where I was like, oh, I'm good at this. Yeah. You know?
Like I'm
actually good at this. And because I'd been used to someone putting me down for so long and telling me that, you know, you're never going to do the things that you said you're going to do, and you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this. I guess it was that moment where I was just like, yeah, well, fuck you. Like, I'm going to suck it to you. This is my life, and I do get to win, and I do get to succeed.
Yeah, and own it.
Yeah, and honestly, when I won the overall, that was also very unexpected. You know, it was like, oh, wow. Like, I was happy with my novice win.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the president of ICN, because that was the first federation I kind of got into, he handed me the sword, and I actually thought it was just for the photo. And so I handed it back.
He's like, no, that's yours.
That's a prize.
In the video, he's like, this is yours. I was like,
grab
why do I want a sword?
What am I going to do with this in my house?
That is so cool. Yeah. And you just said that you coached yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, for my next year. So I did another prep because I was too pooped to do nationals, which I qualified for.
Yeah.
I was one of those girls who's like, nah, buggy you. I'm just gonna, not do nationals.
Yeah.
I did prep the second season. I did back-to-back seasons, season A, season B. I took the piss out of my season B prep. I honestly was like, 10 weeks, that'll do.
Yeah.
I lost like 7 kilos in 10 weeks or something like that. Like I only just came in time. Mm-hmm. And I went to nationals and I won the Australian Novice Classic Figure title for Australia.
Wow.
So I've got an Australian medal there somewhere. And that was cool. Like I was not expecting to get the overall because I didn't put my heart and soul into it. Like I was eating cookies on show day and just whatever. I just didn't care. So I think because I just didn't really have, I guess, a desire to win an Australian title at that stage. And then I took years off, obviously went through the whole COVID situation. I actually kept my business through the whole thing. Online was thriving. I did PT sessions in the park for $1 a minute. Like I was just like one of those types of people who couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to be a person who was wallowing in my sorrows while lockdown happened.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like a ray of sunshine for people who were really struggling. And I managed to do that. There were people who were like their mental health was declining so strongly, and all through lockdown I'd get up at 5 a.m. and go to my local park and freeze my butt off to do kettlebell swings with people who just needed to talk. They just really just needed to get out of the house and talk. And because it was legal to do that, I was like, well, I'm not breaking the law. Like,
let's do it.
Wouldn't take government payments or anything like that. I just refused to not only not let my business die, but also not abandon anybody, in that process. So that was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed lockdown because it was just like getting creative and being imaginative with what I could do. And from my upbringing, that's what I was taught to do. I was taught to just figure out how to make myself happy from nothing. So I didn't actually struggle in lockdown at all. But then through that, I was training and I got a back injury. I actually, really stuffed my L4, L5 from kettlebells. And I couldn't even bend over to pick anything up. It was just agonizing. And this immune condition I've got an arthritic immune condition, and it riddles me whenever I get an injury or when I'm stressed. So I couldn't get out of bed. At one point it was that bad. And I remember thinking to myself, like, you've competed before, you've made it through these really, tough times before. You can do this again. You can come back from this. So I came back from my back injury. I rehabbed it myself. I did go to a physio for 1 or 2 sessions, figured out what was wrong, and then off I went. And I couldn't even do 7 kilo dumbbell stiff leg deadlifts. Like it was just, horrendous. Yeah. And I worked my way up. I'm now doing 47s. So like, the injury was 2020, I think. And so I just went, I'm going to build this back up again.
Yeah.
So I guess like fast forward to comp, I'm super fussy. And obviously when you're a coach yourself, if you're looking for a coach specifically to when men don't intimidate me, I don't find them intimidating. I find them to be equals. And when I can find an intellectual equal in a male, especially as a coach or, somebody who's a colleague, etc., it's wonderful. And especially if there's that mutual respect between the two of us, they're not trying to come over the top I and vice versa. I'm very strong-minded. So, you try and get into a debate with me and you will lose. But I like to have that really constructive conversation between two. I think that a coaching experience is a partnership. I don't think it's about coming over the top of people at all. Yeah. So I was going to go back to my previous coach. Basically, he just said to me, look, I think you can do this yourself. Like he's like, Mariah, you don't need me. Like even halfway through most of our preps we've done together, you call the shots. Yeah. I was just there for you. And I was like, oh shit, should I do this? Yeah. And I just kind of did. I think I got 8 weeks into my prep. I was just prepping and I didn't announce it. I wasn't like, I'm in prep, you know. She wants a kiss. I'm sorry. My cat is very needy. Yeah. So I guess like I was like, I got 8 weeks into prep and I didn't tell anyone until I was probably like 10 weeks deep. And I remember rocking up to one of the posing sessions and another coach was like, I didn't even know you were in prep. And I said, like, why do I need to tell everybody,
Yeah.
you know? And decided that prepping myself would be the perfect example of executing my own work and, you know, practicing reach my own protocol, kind of also proving that you didn't have to do excessive amounts of cardio, that you didn't have to be on a stupid fish and beans meal plan. Like I was eating what I wanted in prep that fit my macros.
Yeah.
I was training 6 days a week, 10,000 steps the entire prep, never changed. Didn't you know, increase my steps throughout the entire prep. And I kept it really simple, and I got down to, I think, 7.5% body fat.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's lean.
So that was both scans and pinches.
Yeah.
My legs carry a lot of fluid because of this immune condition, so it doesn't take me long for them to fill up on show day, which kind of sucks. But and then that was it, really. I think people ask me what it was like prepping myself, whether it was harder, and I would say that it was the single most challenging experience I've ever had, but also the single most rewarding experience.
Absolutely.
You know, it was, I discovered who I was without everybody else.
Yeah. And that's why you have the sword, to slay.
Literally. To slay those comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that, were you afraid at all, like what you were saying, like you stepped out and you started doing coaching and also were prepping yourself and like I can imagine that can be hard because obviously accountability to have a coach and they're checking up when you're doing weigh-ins and all of that. Were you ever like fearful of not pulling through on either of those things, like being a coach, going online and getting out into the whole face-to-face stuff and then getting into prepping yourself too? Is there ever a point you were just, that's again why you got the sword, you're stoic, you're just like...
I mean, like if you knew what I grew up in, I think you would probably understand why.
Yeah.
Do you mind like elaborating on that?
Yeah.
Like if you don't mind, I'd love to know more.
What has made you who you are?
Yeah.
But honestly, in prep too, I must make special mention because he really does need special mention. My new partner, which I wouldn't even call new, we've been together for 2 years. I've known him for 7 years. We were friends for a very long time. We just both had a massive crush on each other and just never made the move. Even though we matched on Tinder and like we just didn't talk to each other, we're just those stupid people. Anyway, so we finally got together properly, like as in like the moment we hung out, like we'd been speaking to each other for like never hung out, just spoke to each other, and we got together and that was it. Like from the day we hung out, we've been together ever since. And he was my rock throughout prep. He would help me with my meal prep. He would, at the end of the day, because I was sedentary, obviously on my laptop all day, getting my steps in, we'd play a game where I'd run around the room and like give him a high five to get my steps in. And, you know, he would go for late night walks with me in the middle of winter, you know, so he was my rock. He was the closest thing I had to a coach.
Yeah.
He didn't get to decide my protocol, but he was that person who kept me going when I was weak, when I was like, and I'm talking like physically weak, just really struggling to get out of bed, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I have to admit, I was never worried. I even think without him, I wouldn't have been concerned, but because I will obviously expand on why and how I end up so resilient / stoic, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah.
So my upbringing, I love my parents to pieces. Both of them, they're not together anymore. Obviously, they split when I was quite young, so that was kind of the start of all of it. Very different people. They come from, obviously, my dad's like 72, my mum's 60-something, so an older generation. I guess growing up, my father was a computer programmer, and still is. But you can imagine he started computer programming before I was born, so 12 years before I was born. And so it wasn't even a thing back then. It was kind of like being a magician. So it was very difficult for him to get work. It was really hard for him to get work because computers just weren't, you know, so we didn't come from this amazing upbringing where there was money all the time. In fact, there just wasn't. Yeah. I didn't get roll-ups. I didn't get, you know, all of the nice treats that kids get and all those nice memories you have of a kid where it's like, you know, I got an Xbox, I got a PlayStation, I got a new bike. That didn't happen for me. You know, I wore my brother's hand-me-down clothing. I was happy, like sure I was happy, but I got FOMO a lot. You know, it was like, what does everyone else have that I don't?
Yeah.
we there were a few houses we lived in. There was one that we had that didn't have a front door for a while. And when the black and white TV blew up, we just didn't get a new one, couldn't afford it. I slept on a futon in a lounge room for a long time because I didn't have my own bedroom. We ended up getting bunk beds at one point as well, and that was pretty good because obviously like my brother and I could sleep in the same room and bed to, you know, like whatever. But I was the youngest in my family as well, and there was like altogether there's 5 kids, so across the board it's all split families, so there's like step kids and half sisters, you know. And I was the pretty one, like I was the only one that, not saying that my siblings aren't good looking, but I was the black sheep. That I was always really happy and just super bubbly. Yeah. Everyone else was pretty antisocial, and I came from an upbringing which was, I guess, kind of like you work your ass off for everything and nobody hands anything to you, basically. Yeah. You know, I didn't get given pocket money just because. I would get given maybe $5 to rake all the leaves in the backyard up, and then I would also have to go and buy our milk that we needed out of that $5. And I'd have to walk, you know, a couple Ks up the road to get the milk and come back and everything like that. So things like walking to school and catching 2-hour buses to school and everything like that, because I got bullied really badly in primary school. So I had a disease that rotted my teeth away, my baby teeth.
Wow. And
imagine being a kid with like completely brown, rotten teeth. Yep. And people just didn't want to sit with me, and they didn't want to be friends with me. Like I was a loner. Yeah. Had 1 or 2 good friends that were there for me, but it got too much. I used to get kicked. Like things were thrown at me. Like I went to a very rough state school, so it was out in the middle of nowhere, Rosedale. It's like literally the tiniest population. And I just knew as a little girl there had to be more. Yeah. There just had to be more than what I was experiencing, even though I was content. There had to be more than that. So I was the dreamer of the family. I was the one that, when they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be famous. Yeah. I'm not famous. I think it's definitely taken a big turn from that original dream, but I said I wanted to be a model or a singer or an actor or something like that. And my family thought I was ridiculous, you know. My stepfather was an ex-police officer, so you can imagine that type of style of upbringing. My mother, she was a teacher at my school and she was studying full-time, so she wasn't around very much. So, yeah, I think going through all of that and not to mention a few things that happened to me as a child that really, nothing within my immediate family, but obviously, you know, that just really distorted my view of what a safe life was like. Yeah. And I didn't feel safe for most of my childhood because of that. So yeah, that was, I guess and then going straight from that into, I worked in a nightclub at the local nightclub when I was 15. And I got my first job at 14 in 6 months because obviously being not well off, we needed more money. So that was my job to contribute to what I wanted. I also got an academic scholarship at age, I think it was 12 to continue to go to a private school. Amazing. Yeah. So I was like, because I wanted to get out of this being bullied, right? So, you know, we sat the scholarship test, and I tested in the top 1 percentile of social science, maths, and English in Australia. And that was a aptitude test. So if you were to test a child at that age, it was a given that would be a forever thing. So it was a bit of a, I guess in a way, because I found a safe place in the library as a child, because I was bullied so badly, it was like, this is my happy place. This is where I go. And I loved reading and I loved writing. So for me, interestingly enough, even though I was bullied so badly that I guess I didn't get to have as much of that social life, I made something else of it and ended up, you know, getting myself out of that with, well, my knowledge and my passion for learning. So and after that, I worked at the nightclub when I was 15. It was rough. I saw people being cut open, like with, you know, bottled and glassed and vomiting all over themselves and you name it. Like there wasn't anything I hadn't seen as a 15-year-old.
Yeah, wow.
And across the period of from age 15 to 20, and even actually more recently last year, I lost around seven friends to suicide and accidental death in our age group.
Wow,
so massive, yeah. And one of them was my ex-partner, who I was still very close friends with. One of them was my best mate that was behind the bar with me for 3 years. My best male friend. It was rough on our whole social group and circle. And we actually got the job together. So we were trained up together and, you know, we actually left pretty much within the same week of each other at the job as well. So there was a lot. And then getting into the DV relationship at 20. And that was being kicked, punched, thrown down the stairs, cheated on like hundreds of times, to the point where I got to when I first competed and thought, no one can take anything else from me now. You know, cannot possibly take more from me if you fucking try.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's funny. It's because you look at bodybuilders and you think like on the outside they're just these lumps of muscle, but there's intricate details in their story and their life and what led them to where they are. So that's actually a snapshot of
Babe, you've been on an absolute journey.
Wow.
So when you say were you afraid, I mean there's
things
that I was far more afraid of.
Of course.
The immune condition I've got as well, I was on chemotherapy for at age 16.
Wow.
It's a chemotherapy drug. It's the only thing that can treat PSA.
Yeah.
So I went through 3 bouts of chemotherapy and I dipped out of that because that was when my life turned around and I realized I've got to do something else that isn't, you know, it's not chemo, it's exercise, nutrition. I went behind my doctor's back and I haven't looked back since then.
You're a powerhouse. You actually are amazing. I actually want to ask you, what is like the biggest piece of advice you could give someone who is like ready to pretty much like take a hold of their life and actually just be like, all right, fuck it, like let's go.
Yeah.
I think the biggest piece of advice would probably be really relevant to the most recent podcast I did actually about self-limiting beliefs and changing your inner dialogue before you do anything else. Because I think that when I hit rock bottom at 20 years old, when I was diagnosed with anorexia and bulimia, and I had 2 suicide attempts within the space of a year. Like, as resilient as it seems, eventually people try to give up, right? Yeah. Yeah, massive stuff. And this is definitely known information, so I've got no qualms in sharing it again. But I think I had a lot of hope growing up that things would get better, and often I would get inside my own head.
Yes.
And things just got worse, and they spiraled and they snowballed. And I felt like the world was against me, or I felt like that nobody was there for me or wanted me around. And I felt like I couldn't win. And that was all internal. That was all internal. You know, even though these things were happening to me, what I had control over was what was happening inside. Yeah. And so if someone wants to take control of their life, they absolutely can. This is the crazy thing is, like, I even look at people who are super successful, even multimillionaires, you name it. And I said this in this podcast yesterday. Have you ever seen them talk shit about themselves? No, like, they don't do that. And they're actually good people too. I find that if you talk shit about other people, you mustn't like yourself very much. So I think that getting out of your own head is a massive part of changing your life. It's knowing that you don't actually have to be brilliant at anything. You don't have to be skilled. You don't have to come from a brilliant upbringing. You don't even have to have the best start. You just have to start. You have to start with your internal dialogue. So the way you speak to yourself, you've got to catch yourself. You've got to smack yourself in the face and say, no, I'm not gonna say that to myself. Yeah. I'm not gonna choose that path. I'm the only person who can save me. So I figured that out at 20, that it wasn't, no one else could save me but me.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's really actually super powerful, and I feel like a lot of women and men are actually going to take a lot out of that, what you just said. So that was really, really powerful. Is that why you kind of wanted to get into that online fitness world? Like, is that where you were like, all right, these women need to be taught that I am, you are actually freaking powerful?
Yeah. 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 My main motivator for getting into online coaching, actually, weirdly enough, it wasn't a choice. I was pushed into it. So people started approaching me saying like, what do you eat? What do you do for training?
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, no, this is mine. Like, I want to be selfish with this.
Yeah.
I didn't want to share. This was my happy place. And I think sharing for me meant that then I had to tell them my secrets, and then it was like, and what's interesting is the more I shared, the better I felt.
Yeah.
The more I told people how to do this and I told people how to change their lives, the better I felt. And the more that I unraveled that, the more I saw that there was so much happening where people were punishing themselves constantly with food and exercise, that where they had a terrible relationship with themselves and with other people and with their exercise and their food choices, and that they, going through my recovery from the anorexia and bulimia, I realized that I wasn't the only one, whether they were anorexic or bulimic, I wasn't the only one struggling.
Yeah. And
then I actually realized how rewarding it is to help other people and to be the reason or be part of the reason, and also not have to take credit all the time for it. Like, I've helped, honestly, thousands of people since I started.
Yeah.
And some people will never have spoken about it, will just have gone along their life, and their family, the dynamic may have changed with their family, or, their kids might be eating healthier now, or they may have, there's a few chronic diseases and things like that where people have had a diagnosis of potential cancer, and then it's, come good because of the changes in their nutrition. So just stuff like that where I'm glad I got pushed into this, and I'm glad that people, almost pressured me into becoming a coach.
I think it's so, I love seeing women in like a point of just not even influence, but that it's other women can rely on. Yeah, like passionate about helping not just other women, but helping people in general. I'm going to stick in the realm of helping women though, because we're both PTs ourselves, and been around the industry, been in and out of gyms. I do find a lot of my female clients, their first struggle is always around anxiety around the gym, or like you were saying, you like sort of had limited beliefs, like, could I do this? Could I not do this? Could I be a bodybuilder? Like, what if someone shuts me down? Like when someone comes to you, or like, what's a bit of advice around that anxiety around the gym, or getting started, or like to put those options, like you were talking about, you kind of put yourself in a box and you're like, no, I have the ability to move on, get out of where you were, get out of the relationship, get out of the job. Like, where do you start?
I have a podcast on this as well. I have a podcast on, it was actually one of the first ones I did, how to overcome your gym anxiety.
Yep.
Gym anxiety is actually in the top 5 highest anxiety, fears in the world, like along with fear of sharks and fear of dying, right?
Yeah,
would you believe that?
I honestly would.
Yeah, going into that space, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I get it.
I think from what I've heard from a lot of people, I'm afraid of people judging me that I'm doing the wrong thing.
Totally.
I'm intimidated by men. I think that was a really big one. I'm intimidated by men looking at me. I'm intimidated by other just people looking at me in general, whether I'm doing the exercise right.
Yeah.
I think that the life-changing moment, before you even step into a gym, before you even think about it being a gym, right? Because it's the gym thing that seems to be this massive focal point. When you walk into a shopping center, do you give a shit what someone thinks about you when they're walking past you? Like, no, right? You don't. Like, bloody Joe and his kids walking past you, you're not thinking, oh my God, he's judging my outfit, or he's judging the way I walk. You don't. Some people might.
Yeah.
Shopping centers are a place of anxiety for me too. I actually put my headphones in and just, zone out.
Yeah.
I hate shopping. Can't stand it. Not a typical female. And I think with gyms is that my top 5 tips would be that it's not as bad as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. Because when we make these irrational thought processes in our mind about this thing and this thing happening, we're actually dramatizing. We're going if you go from a scale of 1 to 10, best case scenario, worst case scenario, when we're afraid of something, anything, we always seem to jump to worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And what you've got to practice in your mind is this an emotional or a logical thought process? is this logical or emotional?
Yep.
If you can probably say this is mostly emotional, then I can guarantee you that it's not factual and it will actually not be a worst case scenario situation. So they're separating that emotional/logical in your mind. It's not actually as bad as what you think it is.
Yep.
And that can often, by downplaying it to yourself, that can often soften it just a little bit for you to actually, entertain the idea of walking into a gym.
Yeah.
The next thing is, if you know someone who goes to the gym, go with them. Like, if they've offered.
Little gym
buddies.
buddy.
Get a gym buddy, because I can guarantee anyone who is currently in a gym, pretty much anyone in that gym will say, I'm happy to bring anyone with me.
Yeah.
To help them and to show them a couple of things.
Yep.
100%.
And just in general to just walk around. My third tip is, rely on the staff there as well. They've experienced this time and time again.
Yeah.
Go in, have a chat with the staff like you would to a shopkeeper and go, hey, I have really bad gym anxiety. And I can guarantee, because it's in those top 5 fears, they will have heard this before. They know.
They've got strategies
Some
towards
coping mechanism. Yeah.
Get them to give you a tour like they do on the first day of school, like walk you around, show you the different pieces of equipment, show you the bathrooms, because there is a theory that behind fear, if we have slow exposure, that is the way to get past the fear. So start small with an introduction of this is where everything is in the gym. So you know that you're familiar. So you don't feel silly when you walk in and you think you're going to the girls' toilets and you go into the men's.
Love that.
For sure. Yep.
I have done that recently. I actually went into the men's toilets at World Gym Stafford. And I'm just going to blame their layout, all right? Yeah. They're too close together. Yeah, that's right. You guys, come on. So I know, right? And by the way, when you get a Gold's Gym in the Sunshine Coast, can you please tell me?
Girl, you'll know for sure.
You'll know about it.
Yeah, right. Because it's, I'm waiting.
Same here. We are also.
So I walked into this wrong bathroom, but even then I had a good giggle to myself, came out, and some dude saw me do it, and he's like, oh, you go the wrong way, did you? I went, yeah, I went the wrong way.
Yeah.
He thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. It was a great little moment.
But there could have been someone that did not find that, if that
Would've
happened to them.
Would've just left.
Gone.
Catcher.
Left and stayed in the toilet, right? So the third thing is that, just got to stay here where it's safe.
Yeah, literally.
The third thing is that everybody, and I don't care what you say back to me, everybody is there for the same damn reason, right? So everybody is there to better themselves, to improve their health, like whatever it looks like. It's actually to help themselves, right? So if you can imagine all those people you're worried about that you're looking around at, yes, that person might know how to do that exercise. Yes, that person might be jacked. Yes, that person might be skinny, whatever preconceived ideas you have of somebody's appearance. I am a perfect example. You've met me today. I'm friendly. I'm a bit crazy, but I look the way that I do. But I'm also not a bitch. I'm not going to be absolutely nasty to you. And I think the preconceived idea that because people look beautiful, they look a certain way, that they're all of a sudden better than you, and there's this kind of hierarchy that you make in your mind. Well, I've never been to the gym before, and I only walk on the treadmill, and I haven't done any weights, and so therefore I'm nothing. Those people all had to start somewhere. They all came to the gym for the first time at some point. They were all afraid. They have been where you are. And therefore, no matter how much fear you have around this, they will understand. And you know what? If they can see that you're a little bit scared, you know what's interesting? If you take your headphones out and you ask somebody next to you, hey, can you please help me with this? Most of the time they're going to say yes. If they don't, and they say no, that I don't know how to use that. Guess what? They're in the same boat as you, buddy. Like, how cool. Someone either can help you or is in the same boat as you. Exactly. So the relatability is massive. Look at them all as normal human beings instead of beautiful people who are snobs. No matter what look they've got on their face, I've got an awful resting bitch face in the gym. And it's not because I'm trying to deter people. I can't see. I'm short-sighted. Okay? I can see this.
My resting bitch face in the gym. I don't even know if it's resting bitch face, but like honestly, it's just like my facials in the gym is not okay. When you're on the pain
train, it's different. Like when
you're
in the middle of your last set and you drop set or something, you just look, anyone who looks at you is copping something.
They're getting devil eyes probably. Just like I'm looking through you, not at you.
Exactly. It's half the time too, you've got to think that sometimes that's their way of coping with being in a big crowded place too.
Yeah.
Is that they put a wall up because they're scared too.
100%.
They're a little bit frightened. You know, it's like when you see a snake. The snake's more scared of you than it is of it. Like, oh, wait, that thing.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah.
That little tongue twister.
Yeah.
So my final tips would be that if you are still a little bit frightened, start on the treadmill, of course. Go for a little walk, and that way you can keep watch for a while.
Yes.
I did that for months.
I love that.
10-minute walk on the treadmill, looked at the piece of equipment.
Yeah. Get comfortable in your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I suppose there's probably more like 6 tips. The 5th tip is headphones are your best friend. Okay. Put your headphones in. You go to your happy place when you listen to your favorite music.
Yeah. Love it.
Don't try and walk into a gym with no headphones, listening to the gym music and people's grunting noises, expecting yourself to get less anxious. You know, I don't like hearing myself.
Yeah.
So I put headphones in that loud I can't hear myself.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, mate, if you don't have headphones on next to me, that's on you. Like you volunteered to listen to my crazy grunting noises. I don't actually, not that noisy.
Yeah.
But I just think of it that you're in your own world. Once the headphones are in, you've got your own tunes. Make sure it's a playlist that you really enjoy. And don't make eye contact. Don't feel like you have to make eye contact. People have this weird thing like they're looking at me, so I've got to look at them, or I've got to look and make eye contact with every single person. If you asked me who was in the gym yesterday, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah, right.
I don't remember. I don't look at people. I don't look at people, and therefore that makes me less anxious because I don't feel like I have to connect with every single one of them.
Yeah.
And the other tip, I know I haven't even followed my 5, but I guess I'm at 6, is go in with a structured plan. And if you think to yourself, oh, but I can't afford one, or, no, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. You can afford one.
Yeah.
I have $60 training plans on my website that are gym training programs that you can purchase.
Yeah.
Right? It may not have the how-to, but there is YouTube. There are online coaches who can help you. There are instructors and PTs in your gyms, for example, who can take you through a program that's been purchased by somebody else.
Yeah.
It's not that hard to seek out and invest in knowing. And think to yourself, with like anything, like riding a bike, reading a book, whatever, there was a stage where you had no idea how to turn a page, like as a child. There was a stage where you didn't know how to know how to ride a bike. There was a stage where you didn't even know how to make a damn sandwich, and you figured that out, all right?
Yeah.
So
you got it. You can do it.
I'm big on a plan. I was talking to Em before about intentionality, going into the gym, intentional, having a training program. And also then I think you're more focused, right? You're more zoned in because you're like, I know what I'm training today.
You're not going to getting it done.
You're not going to mosey about. You just.
I love it. I love all of those tips.
Yeah, it doesn't create anxiety between the exercises too. Like, what am I going to do next? And then you're sitting there feeling like an absolute numpty.
Yeah, because then you just grab your sword and go over to the leg press and you're like, Dino, you're out, buddy.
I got this sword.
Mariah's in. All right.
Oh, this has been so much fun. Before we go, we normally just play a little game. We do 5 fast questions. So basically we just ask you a couple of questions. Yeah, you just you can't.
I played this last weekend. We played board games at our house with our friends last week.
We're actually
quick fire.
Yeah, we are massive on the game front. So first question is chocolate or ice cream?
Ice cream.
When
I'm an ice cream addict. Like I have a problem. It's like crack for me. Yeah. Yeah. Every time my partner wants to get in my good books, he's like, want an ice cream? Oh, damn. Yes, I do.
Your ears perk up. You're like, yes.
Ice cream's break my heart.
When you were younger, what did you want to be? I know you said you wanted to be famous, but what was the specific one?
A singer.
Love. What? Oh, you can only do one exercise for the rest of your life. What are you doing?
Hip thrust, all about the booty.
Go the booty.
Oofed. Your friends would describe you in one word. What would that word be?
Mad, crazy, psycho, insane. Batshit, that's 6 words. Batshit crazy. Look, any sort of synonym for psychotic.
I love that. Honestly, you're my type of girl. Netflix or Disney Plus?
Netflix. I'm so sorry. I'm not a kids movie person. Please don't hate me.
Do you know what? Disney Plus actually has some good things on it.
Yeah?
I've never been a Disney person because I was a poor kid. We couldn't afford Disney anything. So I think I've got like a resentment towards Disney.
Yeah.
You're like, I will not.
My partner is the polar opposite. He's this like 6'2" tattooed like like jacked as shit dude, covered in tattoos, and he can literally recite Frozen. So
that's cute. Let it go, hey?
Let it.
I'm going to sing that now. Dang it. I shouldn't have said that.
Stop it.
Oh, babe, thank you so much for coming in or chatting with us.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure. And honestly, like, it's inspiring to see you growing up from such a, like, you're literally, it feels like you're probably in two different worlds. Like, it's like,
yeah, to hear that and like to look at like your physique that you got to as well. I was peeping some of those. It's incredible physique.
Seriously.
And like, you've gone through some true grit prior to like a 24-week prep or some shit, because I mean, that must have been easier than like the life that you had lived or have lived, I should say. Where would people find you if they wanted to come check you out, suss you out? What's the best way to find you? Because
I'm everywhere.
I tried the Mariah Carey thing, and I just had Mariah Carey fan pages pop up everywhere on Instagram when I went to find you. So, what is your Instagram? What's your IG handle?
IG handle, I've always used my middle name as pretty much my, I guess, like persona. So it's Mariah Jean Fit, just one word, Mariah Jean Fit, Mariah. I'm not Maria. The reason why I use my middle name, I see it a lot with fitness influencers. They get married, then they have to take, the partner's name. And although my partner's name is like one letter different from my name, my last name, so it's the weirdest, I'm making a match advice. Yeah, when he finally puts a ring on it. Hint, if he's listening.
Listen, boy.
Yes. Mariah Jean Fit, and that's on Instagram. It's Mariah Jean Fit on Facebook. They're separate words. It's Mariah Jean Fit on TikTok. It is Mariah Jean Fit on YouTube. It's else
Mariah Jean Fit, baby.
That's it.
MariahJeanFit.com. I'm super original, but yes, that's my website. So
consistent.
Fully booked. Yeah, look, I'm fully booked for coaching at the moment for one-on-one spots. Obviously, I've reached max capacity. I have hired another coach, Coach Alora. She's a carbon copy of me. If you want to have a look at Alora and you think I've got an impressive physique, she's another figure competitor. She's based in Adelaide, so she's fully online as well, and she takes my overflow. So
cool.
That's what we're about.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the potty today, and we look forward to hearing and seeing more with your journey.
Yep.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Pleasure.
All right, bye.
What an episode. I feel like so many people are going to be able to take something away from this chat.
Yeah, totally. From going from where she started to going onto that stage, winning twice. Incredible. And also there's like the tips and tricks that she shared as well for gym anxiety. I think a lot of people will get out of. If you would like more of our content though, like, subscribe, share,
rate, review, all of the things. It helps us so much. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Have the best day.
Bless up.
Bye.
Bye.
Good as gold. Gouda as golda.